What do we celebrate on the fourth day of Christmas? In the 12 days of Christmas, what do we get on the fourth day of Christmas? 4 calling birds. So on the day which we have 4 calling birds then, on the 12 days of Christmas. The first day of Christmas then is Christmas Day. The second day of Christmas is the feast of St. Stephen, the first martyr. The third day of Christmas is St. John, the only apostle not to be martyred. The fourth day of Christmas, who does the church celebrate every December the 28th? Today. Who does the church celebrate every December the 28th? It's the feast of the Holy Innocents. Innocents spelled T-S on the end. The innocent children. Which innocent children? Do you remember the story? In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2, Herod learns about this child. The Magi don't bring the report back to him. What does he decide to do? Any child under 2 or 3 years old has got to be killed. Why? Because we hear reports about a Messiah being born, we've got to make sure that we take care of business and kill the Messiah. So any boys under the age of 2 or 3, according to this story, were killed.
How did they figure that the Messiah was male and not female?
How did they figure that the Messiah was male and not female? Margie, that is such an excellent question. Because Jesus had a discipleship of equals, where men and women were, Jesus was a man, but he talked with women, which men did not do there. Because in that society, there were men and there were women. And women were inferior and subordinate to men, as we see in today's first reading from Sirach. If we were to continue today's first reading, how interesting that he talks about how it is that wives should be submissive to their husbands. Wives submissive to their husbands. We deleted those phrases from today's reading because we have 2 options today for the first reading. The church says that we can say those verses of wives being submissive, and we can tell the women to be submissive to their husbands. Or the church gives us the option of leaving those out and following more in the vision of Jesus, which is what we choose to do today. But they believed back then that the Messiah had to be male and not female. Yeah, excellent question though. So they killed the boys, according to this story. Is there any historical record of this killing of infants, of this infanticide? But historians have no record of this, or of the census, or of the star appearing. These are all faith stories that we have. Remember, the Bible is not a book of history. The Bible is a book of faith that tells us about God. And so we have the story of Herod being outwitted by the Magi, getting furious, giving orders to kill all the boys. And in that way the scriptures were fulfilled. Because in the scriptures it said, a voice is heard in Ramah, weeping and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted because they are no more. And so how is that scripture seen as being fulfilled? God, remember, Matthew is all about showing how it is that scriptures are fulfilled, how it is that Jesus is the new Moses, how it is that weeping and crying over the children who died took place at Jesus' birth. Why is December the 28th important for people in Mexico? So for our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents who came from Mexico, what do we celebrate on December the 28th? Dia de los Inocentes, the Feast of the Innocents, which December the 28th in Mexico is April Fool's Day. So, if you're from Mexico, today is the day when you wake up and say, oh look, your shoe's untied. But instead of saying April Fool's Day, what do they say when they play a joke on December the 28th? They say, Inocente Palomita, which means what in English? You innocent little dove. Right? So in Mexico, instead of celebrating April Fool's Day on December the 28th, today's the day that they play tricks on one another. Your shoe's untied. And then when he looks, what do we say? Not April Fool's Day. We say, Inocente Palomita, which is our way of saying Happy April Fool's Day in Mexico. I'll never forget. So the good sisters at Cristo Rey, back in 2011, We had a party where the VDES volunteers came from all over the world, back from their missions, and the sisters had a party for them on December the 28th, and they asked Father to bring the cake. You know where this is going? Went down to HEB, had them take a box, decorate it as a cake with icing, so that when the nuns went to cut into it, they went to cut into the cake, and it wasn't like any other cake. And what did we all say? Inocente, Palomita, April Fool's Day, to the big nuns, right? It was a great joke. So that's December the 28th.
So they didn't get it back?
So I don't mean to give you any ideas, but today is April Fool's Day in Mexico. Should you be thinking of playing any tricks on anyone, make sure that you're ready to say, when they discover that it's a trick, then you say, Inocente Palomita, you innocent little dove. Right? So that's the fourth day of Christmas. As a church then, these first 4 days of Christmas, Christmas Day is the first day of Christmas, the second day of Christmas is St. Stephen, the first martyr, the third day of Christmas is St. John, the only apostle not to be martyred, and the fourth day of Christmas, when we get the four calling birds, is the day of the innocents, when the innocent children in Bethlehem, according to the story, lost their lives.